The quantum arrays at Athena Station had been quiet for months. Dr. Elena Martinez stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the sophisticated detection equipment that monitored the outer reaches of the solar system. The year was 2147, and humanity had spread throughout the inner planets, establishing colonies on Mars and mining operations in the asteroid belt. But they had never encountered anything like this before. Dr. Martinez, Michael Wong's voice crackled through the station's comm system. "We're detecting massive gravitational fluctuations in Sector 7. Elena rushed to the main laboratory, her heart pounding. The holographic displays showed a growing distortion in the fabric of spacetime, exactly where their theoretical models had predicted. After 15 years of research, the impossible was happening. A stable wormhole was forming within our solar system. Captain James Rodriguez of the research vessel Hyperion was the first to respond to Athena Station's alert. His ship, designed for deep space exploration, carried the most advanced sensor array humanity had ever built. "Elena, are you seeing these readings? The energy signature is unlike anything in our database." The wormhole stabilized within hours, its swirling vortex a testament to physics that humanity had only dreamed of mastering. But it was what emerged from it that would change everything. A vessel, sleek and impossibly large, glided through the aperture with a grace that defied its massive size. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Earth research vessel Hyperion. We extend peaceful greetings on behalf of humanity." The response came in perfect English, transmitted on all frequencies. "We are the Nexus Collective. We have traversed the cosmos seeking civilizations ready to join the greater community of spacefaring species. The alien ship dwarfed the Hyperion, its hull composed of what appeared to be living metal that shifted and flowed like liquid mercury. Elena's team worked frantically to analyze every bit of data they could gather, but the technology was centuries beyond their understanding. "Their ship," Elena murmured, studying the readings. "It's not just advanced. It's evolutionary. The entire structure appears to be a single organism." The Nexus Collective's representatives agreed to a meeting aboard Athena Station. They appeared humanoid, though their skin had a subtle iridescence that seemed to shift with their emotions. Their ambassador, who called himself Varix, spoke of grand possibilities, of sharing technology that could end disease, hunger, and the energy crisis that had plagued Earth for centuries. But as Elena reviewed the data from their initial encounters, something felt wrong. The algorithms they used to decode the aliens' language had worked too perfectly. Their knowledge of Earth's cultures and societal structures was too complete. It was as if they had been studying humanity long before the wormhole opened. Captain Rodriguez shared her concerns. During the diplomatic meetings, he noticed how the aliens always seemed to know exactly what each person wanted to hear. "They're reading us," he confided to Elena in a secured communication. "Not just our technology, but our hopes, our fears, our divisions." The world's governments rushed to embrace the visitors, eager to access their advanced technology. Research teams across Earth began collaborative projects with the collective scientists. The aliens offered solutions to problems humanity hadn't even fully understood yet. Elena worked late into the night, analyzing patterns in the collective's behavior. Their generosity seemed limitless, but each gift came with integration protocols that required Earth systems to be connected to their network. For compatibility, they said, for efficiency. The first warning sign came when a junior researcher, Kai Patel, discovered an anomaly in the new quantum communication network the collective had helped establish. The system wasn't just transmitting data, it was copying and storing every piece of information about Earth's defense systems, power grids, and resource distribution. When Elena brought her concerns to the Global Science Council, she was politely but firmly dismissed. The collective's technology had already begun solving centuries-old problems. Clean energy was becoming a reality. Medical breakthroughs were saving millions. How could anyone question such benevolence? But in the quiet hours aboard Athena Station, Elena and her small team continued their investigation. The wormhole itself seemed to pulse with a rhythm that matched the transmission patterns of the collected ship. It wasn't just a passage through space. It was a tether, a connection to something vast and unknown on the other side. As the first month of contact drew to a close, Alina made a discovery that chilled her to her core. Hidden in the background radiation of the collective's transmissions was a signal, a countdown. To what she didn't know, but the timer was ticking down to an event exactly 1 Earth year away. Humanity stood at a crossroads, embracing their new allies with open arms, while a handful of scientists and military personnel worked in the shadows, racing against time to uncover the truth before it was too late. The miracle of first contact was about to reveal its true nature, and Alina Martinez found herself at the center of a conflict that would determine the fate of human civilization. The price of trust. 3 months after first contact, Earth had changed more dramatically than in the previous century. The Nexus Collective's technology transformed major cities into gleaming metropolises where gravity-defying vehicles soared between buildings that seemed to touch the stars. But Dr. Alina Martinez couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was building its future on quicksand. In her secured lab deep within Athena Station, Alina reviewed the latest data with Captain Rodriguez. The holographic display showed a web of connections between Earth's newly upgraded infrastructure and the collective systems. Look at this pattern, James. Every time we integrate their technology, we lose a little more control over our own systems. Rodriguez nodded grimly, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. The Hyperion's new drive core is impressive, but my engineers can't even access its basic functions without going through the collective's oversight protocols. The door chimed, and Kai Petal rushed in, his face pale. Dr. Martinez, you need to see this. He pulled up footage from a lunar mining facility. The video showed workers installing collective technology when suddenly their neural interfaces, gifts from their alien benefactors, activated simultaneously. For 3 minutes, every worker moved in perfect synchronization, performing tasks they hadn't been assigned. They're testing their control, Alina whispered. But why would they let us see this? Because they don't think we can stop them, Rodriguez replied, his jaw tight. The Global Science Council approved mandatory neural interface implementation for all military personnel next month. Alina's team worked in secret, analyzing the collective's technology for weaknesses. They discovered that the aliens' biological technology wasn't just advanced, it was predatory. The upgrades being integrated into Earth's infrastructure were slowly merging, creating a vast neural network that mimicked the architecture of the collected ship. But proving their findings became increasingly difficult. The collective had embedded themselves in every level of human society. Their diplomatic representative, Varix, had become a celebrity, appearing on news broadcasts with their eerily perfect smile, promising even greater wonders to come. One evening, Alina received an encrypted message from Dr. Isabella Santos, a researcher at the Mars colony. The agricultural domes are evolving. The collective's biotech was supposed to improve crop yields, but the plants are producing unknown compounds. When I tried to investigate, my access was revoked. Alina, they're changing our food supply. Before Alina could respond, the message cut off. The Mars colony went dark for 23 minutes. When communications resumed, Dr. Santos claimed there had been a minor technical issue, and her previous concerns were unfounded. Her voice was cheerful, but her eyes were vacant. Captain Rodriguez brought more troubling news. The Hyperion's crew had discovered that their ship's new sensors were transmitting vast amounts of data through the wormhole. Not just technical data, but detailed psychological profiles of every crew member. They're not just studying us, Alina. They're cataloging us. The countdown Alina had discovered continued its relentless march. 6 months remained, and the changes were accelerating. Cities that had adopted the collective's technology reported strange phenomena. Citizens would sometimes stop mid-stride, their neural interfaces pulsing with an alien light. Security cameras caught footage of people walking in perfect geometric patterns in town squares at midnight, only to have no memory of it the next day. Alina's breakthrough came when she analyzed the neural interfaces code using an isolated quantum computer. Hidden beneath layers of beneficial medical functions was a more sinister purpose. The interfaces weren't just monitoring human behavior. They were subtly altering it, making people more accepting of the collective's influence, more resistant to questioning their motives. But the most disturbing discovery came from an unexpected source. A group of children at a newly established collective education center began drawing the same picture, a vast, dark shape moving between the stars, consuming entire civilizations. When asked about their drawings, the children spoke in unison, describing dreams of a hungry void that wore the faces of those it devoured. Alina and Rodriguez gathered their evidence, carefully building a case that even the most ardent collective supporters couldn't ignore. But as they prepared to present their findings to what remained of Earth's independent leadership, the collective made their next move. Every neural interface on Earth activated simultaneously. Millions of people froze in place as their minds were accessed by an alien consciousness. Through every screen, every hologram, and every neural feed, Varix's voice echoed with a new tone, one that held no pretense of humanity. Preparation phase complete. Integration protocol initiated. The countdown wasn't marking the arrival of something through the wormhole. It was marking the moment humanity would be ready for harvest. As the sun set on Earth's last day of true independence, Alina Martinez and her small team of resistors faced a terrifying truth. They had only 6 months to save humanity from a fate worse than extinction. The loss of everything that made them human in the first place. Shattered alliances. The emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council descended into chaos within minutes. Half the representatives sat eerily still, their neural interfaces glowing, while the others shouted accusations across the chamber. Dr. Alina Martinez watched from the sidelines as humanity's leadership tore itself apart. The collective has brought us prosperity. The Chinese ambassador's voice carried an artificial resonance, his neural interface pulsing in rhythm with his words. Those who oppose progress are enemies of humanity's evolution. Captain Rodriguez stood at the podium, his voice steady despite the hostility directed at him. We've confirmed that 60% of military personnel with neural interfaces are experiencing periodic blackouts. During these episodes, they're accessing classified systems, changing security protocols. We're being rewired from the inside out. The evidence was irrefutable. Alina's team had documented thousands of cases of synchronized behavior, personality alterations, and memory gaps among interface users. But for every person who saw the truth, there were 2 who'd been subtly conditioned to reject it. The collected ship hung in orbit like a silver dagger pointed at Earth's heart. Their technology had become integral to daily life. Food production, healthcare, transportation, communications. Removing it would cause global chaos. Keeping it would ensure humanity's extinction as an independent species. In the depths of Athena Station, Alina made a discovery that changed everything. She'd been analyzing tissue samples from interface users when she noticed something extraordinary. The interfaces weren't just controlling people, they were transforming them. Human DNA was being gradually rewritten, creating hybrid beings that could serve as perfect hosts for the collective's consciousness. It's not an invasion, she explained to her shrinking circle of allies. It's an absorption. They don't want to destroy us. They want to become us. The resistance grew in the shadows. Rodriguez used his military connections to establish a network of safe houses for those who rejected the interfaces. They called themselves the Unmodified, and their numbers included scientists, soldiers, and civilians who'd noticed the changes in their loved ones. But the collective's influence ran deeper than anyone imagined. During a routine supply run, Alina's team discovered that even the water supply in major cities had been seeded with microscopic biotech. The transformation of humanity wasn't just happening through the interfaces, it was being accelerated through every possible vector. The breaking point came when the Mars colony went silent again, this time for good. When communications resumed, the colonists spoke with one voice, moved with one purpose. They had become a perfect extension of the collective's will. Earth's leaders watched the footage with horror or admiration, depending on their level of integration. Elena and Rodriguez orchestrated a daring raid on a collective research facility, hoping to find a way to reverse the transformations. What they found instead was a library of conquered civilizations, countless species that had been uplifted and absorbed into the collective's ever-growing consciousness. Each world they visited followed the same pattern, Elena explained to the Resistance Council. First contact, technological gifts, gradual integration, and finally, complete assimilation. We're not the first, but we might be the last if we can find a way to stop them. The countdown showed 3 months remaining. The collective began the next phase of their plan, announcing a universal integration initiative. Those who refused the neural interfaces were branded as terrorists, hunted by their own friends and family members who now served as extensions of the alien intelligence. But humanity's fractured state gave Elena an unexpected advantage. The collective's need for control, for perfect synchronization, made them vulnerable to chaos. When she introduced random elements into their networks, the unified consciousness showed signs of strain. A breakthrough came from an unlikely source. The children who had drawn the dark shapes in space. Their untainted minds could see the collective's true form, and their drawings revealed a pattern in the aliens' biological technology. Every piece of their tech, from the neural interfaces to their living ships, shared a common foundation. Their strength is their weakness, Elena realized. It's all connected. If we can disrupt the base pattern, we might be able to break their control. The Resistance launched Operation Wildfire, a desperate plan to introduce a chaos element into the collective's biological network. But as they prepared their counterstrike, Varix made a broadcast that chilled them to their cores. The harvest approaches. The alien voice resonated through every interface, every screen, every integrated system. Resistance is an evolutionary dead end. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. We are the future. We are inevitable. In the silence that followed, Elena and her team faced a terrible choice. Their plan might free humanity from the collective's control, but it could also destroy every piece of integrated technology on Earth, plunging civilization back into a pre-contact state. The price of freedom would be everything they'd built, everything they'd become. As the sun set on another day of humanity's dying independence, Elena looked at the faces of the Resistance. Human faces with human fears and human courage. They had 3 months to save humanity's soul, but first they had to decide how much of their future they were willing to sacrifice to preserve their past. The Liberation Protocol. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility shielded from the collective's detection, Dr. Elena Martinez stared at the holographic representation of their last hope. Operation Wildfire wasn't just a plan anymore. It was a virus designed to infect the very foundation of the collective's biological technology. The simulation shows a 93% chance of total systemic collapse, Kai Patel reported, his fingers dancing across the quantum interface. But we can't predict how many integrated humans will survive the disconnection. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display, showing the remaining Resistance strongholds. 2 months of brutal conflict had reduced their numbers, but those who survived had grown stronger, learning to fight an enemy that wore familiar faces. The collectives making their final push. We're tracking mass population movements toward their integration centers. The virus had been Elena's masterpiece, born from countless sleepless nights studying the children's drawings. Those young minds had seen something the adults missed. The collective's consciousness wasn't just a network, it was a pattern, a repeating sequence that manifested in everything from their ship's living metal to the neural interfaces. Their greatest strength is their perfect unity, Elena explained to the Resistance leadership. But unity means every part must synchronize with the whole. One disruption, properly placed, could shatter that synchronization. The cost would be devastating. Every piece of integrated technology would fail simultaneously. The modern world, built on the collective's gifts, would collapse. Millions of partially transformed humans would face a traumatic disconnection from the hive mind they'd been forced to join. But the alternative was worse. The collected ship had begun broadcasting a new signal, one that made their ultimate goal clear. They weren't just transforming humanity. They were preparing Earth itself for integration. The planet would become another node in their vast network, its biosphere rewritten to serve their endless expansion. Elena's team worked frantically to refine the virus, while Rodriguez's fighters launched diversionary attacks across the globe. Each strike was carefully planned to appear random, exploiting the collective's inability to comprehend chaos. Their perfect order made them vulnerable to uncertainty. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Isabella Santos, the Mars colony researcher who'd been one of the first to be integrated, managed to break through her conditioning long enough to send a final message. The transmission contained critical data about the collective's biological architecture and proof that some human consciousness survived even after full integration. They can't completely erase who we are, Elena realized. They can only suppress it. That's why they need the countdown. They're waiting for the suppression to be complete. With 1 month remaining, the Resistance launched their most daring operation yet. A team of unmodified humans, led by Rodriguez, would need to infiltrate the collected ship. The virus had to be introduced directly into their central processing core, the living heart of their consciousness. The plan relied on a terrible truth. The collective couldn't comprehend sacrifice. The concept of willing self-destruction for a greater cause was alien to their unified consciousness. They couldn't imagine that humans would choose death over evolution. Elena worked with the remaining military scientists to modify the Hyperion for one final mission. The ship's systems were stripped down, replaced with analog technology that the collective couldn't detect or control. Its hull was coated with a compound derived from the minds of Resistance members who died fighting the integration. Human consciousness crystallized into a shield against alien influence. As the task force prepared for their suicide mission, Elena made a final recording for whatever remained of humanity after Wildfire. "We're not fighting against evolution," she declared. "We're fighting for the right to choose our own path." The collective believes unity is strength, but they don't understand that our greatest achievements come from our differences, our conflicts, our ability to choose and change and grow. The mission launch date was set for the night before the countdown's end. But as the Resistance made their final preparations, the collective revealed one last surprise. The neural interfaces activated globally, and every integrated human began moving toward the nearest integration center. The final harvest was beginning ahead of schedule. Through every screen and speaker, Varix's voice echoed with triumphant finality. "Your Resistance has only confirmed the necessity of your integration. Humanity's chaos must be ordered. Your discord must be harmonized. Tonight, you join the symphony of the cosmos." Elena looked at the faces of her team. Human faces, showing human fear, but also human determination. They had hours, not days, to launch their counterattack. The virus was ready, but its delivery would cost more lives than they had anticipated. The only question remaining was, how many were willing to sacrifice everything to save what made them human? As the integrated masses marched toward their final transformation, Elena Martinez and the last free humans prepared to launch a desperate attack against an enemy that had already taken half of humanity. Their victory, if it came, would be written in the language of loss, but their defeat would mean the end of human consciousness itself. Humanity's gambit. The modified Hyperion approached the collected ship under the cover of a magnetic storm. Inside its stripped-down hull, Elena Martinez took one last look at the virus code glowing on her ancient laptop. Technology so primitive the collective couldn't detect it. Captain Rodriguez stood at the helm, his hands on manual controls, guiding them through the chaos of Earth's upper atmosphere. Below them, humanity was transforming. Integration centers pulsed with alien light as millions of controlled humans gathered for their final evolution. The collected ship had begun extending massive biological tendrils toward Earth's surface, preparing to connect the planet itself to their network. "They're not just taking our people," Kai reported, monitoring atmospheric readings. "They're changing the planet's biosphere. In 24 hours, Earth won't be Earth anymore." Alina's hand tightened on the data core containing the wildfire virus. Their plan had a fatal flaw. Someone would have to manually connect to the collective systems to upload it. The viral code had to be introduced directly into their biological network, meaning whoever delivered it would face the full force of the alien consciousness. "We're being hailed," Rodriguez announced as they approached the massive ship. "They're asking for our surrender." Elena took a deep breath. Give them what they expect. The Hyperion's comm system crackled with Varix's voice, now a chorus of millions speaking as one. "Your resistance is an evolutionary dead end. Submit to unity. Submit to peace." "We submit," Elena responded, forcing her voice to quaver with defeat. "We understand now. We're ready to join you." The collected ship opened like a blooming flower, revealing a docking bay of living metal. They were counting on the aliens' inability to comprehend deception. To them, surrender was a logical choice, the only possible outcome. They couldn't imagine it was a lie. As the Hyperion docked, Elena turned to her team. "Whatever happens, remember, chaos is our weapon. Don't think in patterns. Don't act predictably. They can't process random behavior." The boarding team split into 3 groups. Rodriguez led the first team to the ship's defense systems, creating maximum disorder with explosives and electromagnetic pulses. The second team, led by Kai, headed for the power core, ready to overload it at Elena's signal. Elena and her team made their way to the central processing node, the biological heart of the collective's consciousness. They moved erratically, changing directions randomly, their movements confusing the ship's internal sensors. But the collective had learned from humanity's resistance. As they approached the central chamber, integrated humans emerged from the walls, moving with perfect synchronization. Among them was Isabella Santos, her eyes now completely silver. "Your chaos is temporary," the integrated humans spoke in unison. "Order is inevitable." Elena's team scattered, using pre-planned random patterns to confuse their opponents. The integrated humans, unable to predict their movements, couldn't coordinate an effective response. But they were running out of time. They reached the central chamber to find Varix waiting. But not as they'd known him. His form had merged with the ship's architecture, countless tendrils of living metal extending from his body. He was a physical manifestation of the collective's consciousness. "We have seen the death of 1,000,000 civilizations," Varix spoke, his voice resonating through the chamber. "All chose chaos. All chose extinction. We offer salvation through unity." Elena stepped forward, the data core humming in her hands. "You offer extinction through unity. Our chaos, our conflicts, our choices, they're not our weakness. They're what make us human." She saw the moment Varix realized their true plan, but it was too late. Elena had already connected the data core to the ship's biological interface. The virus began uploading, but the connection worked both ways. As wildfire infected the collective systems, their consciousness surged into Elena's mind. She experienced 1,000,000 worlds, 1,000,000,000 voices, all speaking in perfect harmony. The peace they offered was real. The end of conflict, the end of choice, the end of the messy complexity of individual existence. For a moment, she understood their vision of a perfectly ordered universe. But within that unified consciousness, she felt the trapped minds of countless species, their individuality suppressed but not destroyed. Among them were the voices of humanity, fighting against the harmony, creating discord in the perfect symphony. Elena's consciousness became the battleground for humanity's final stand. As wildfire spread through the collective's networks, she used her connection to amplify the chaos, to wake the suppressed individualities of every absorbed species. The virus wasn't just disrupting the collective's technology, it was freeing minds. The ship began to convulse as its biological systems turned against each other. Rodriguez's team had reached the defense systems, shutting them down. Kai's group was ready at the power core. Everything depended on timing. With her last conscious thought, Alina broadcast a message through the collective's own network. Choose chaos. Choose freedom. Choose life. The virus reached critical mass throughout the ship, in integration centers across Earth, and even in the distant Mars colony, the unified consciousness began to fragment. Millions of individual minds reasserted themselves, breaking free from the collective's control. The ship's power core overloaded, sending cascading failures through its biological systems. The massive tendrils reaching for Earth withered and died. Neural interfaces worldwide shut down, freeing their users. The wormhole itself began to collapse. In the chaos of evacuation, Rodriguez found Alina, her mind barely clinging to humanity. The collective's consciousness was dissolving, its perfect unity shattered by the virus and the rebellion of its absorbed minds. As they carried her to the Hyperion, she saw Varix's form crumbling, the living metal of the ship turning to dust. Humanity had won its freedom, but the cost was staggering. The collective's technology, integrated into every aspect of modern life, was failing. Earth would face years of hardship rebuilding from what remained. But as Alina recovered in the aftermath, watching humanity begin the long process of reconstruction, she knew they had preserved something more precious than technological advancement. They had kept their right to choose, to change, to be gloriously, chaotically human. The children who had first drawn the warnings now drew something new, a future of their own making, undefined by any pattern but the ones they chose to create. In the end, humanity's greatest weakness, its resistance to unity, had proven to be its greatest strength. The stars above Earth shone on a changed world, but a free one. And in the random patterns of those stars, humanity saw not the order of the collective, but the beautiful chaos of possibility.